What's going on, guys? Asian Guy here, bringing you a video from the global server of One Piece Treasure Cruise discussing the 10.0 Sugofest and whether or not you should be looking to pull or how many gems you should be looking to spend or even save, because we know what's coming from Japan in the next coming months for global is pretty insane. There's a lot of Supertype legends, a lot of overpowered units, and also some incredible limited rare recruits, including PvP and Kizuna units, including in those limited rare recruits that you do want to keep your eye out for. And of course, in February, it's not going to be worse than the Sugofest, is it? The February anniversary for global, it's most likely going to be Sanji and Luffy, the best legend in the game by an astronomical mile, with, of course, the Sweet Commanders unit and the Germa 66. And on top of that, you can most likely expect that Sugofest will be as good as this one, if not better. Minimum threshold is going to be as good as this one. So, let's first of all take a look at the rate ups to decide which part is best. So, hypothetically speaking, guys, if you have no units at all in your box, the best part to pull on this Sugofest, all four of these Sugofest, by far is part 3. That has the most usable legends in there. The only legend in part 3, which is the third row, which does not see any gameplay at all, literally none, is going to be Shiki. In every other row though, in 1, 2, and 4, which is parts 1, 2, and 4, there are some units that will barely see, if not just not see any play at all. So unfortunately, they have mixed in some dud units in there, but you know, they can't just make this Sugofest OP. It's not like any kind of special anniversary. It's just for a version update Sugofest, and it's still a 3x legend rate up, so there's a good chance of pulling loads of other non-rated up legends as well. However, if you look at rows 5 and 6, rows 5 being a lot of good PvE legends that I myself would personally love to own, because my box, as you guys know, is very empty. But yeah, that's a lot of good legends that aren't rated up, especially Sabo, Koala, Vivi, Rebecca, and Chopper. More so, somewhat recent-ish legends that we have seen rated up on like the French anniversary, or we did see a lot of them in the previous Sugofest rated up, have not been rated up this time, and they're 3 really big legends, especially Chopper right now. For those of you who have been playing PvP, you know you can expand your candy now, and you can finally now start spending a lot of your candy, but soon it will get to a point where you actually need more and more candy, and not having Chopper for that is going to be very difficult. Part 6, row 6 is legends I would personally like to own for PvP reasons. They're all top tier, like god tier units in PvP. But let's take a look at what the actual rate up legends are. Part 1 is looking pretty good. I would say it's the second best part to pull on. You have V2 Snake Man, amazing legend, really powerful unit, one of the best on Japan still. We have V3 Law, who again is one of the best in Japan, very good in PvP as well as the main game. We have Osoba Mask, who I would say in Japan, his play has dropped a lot because of Sanji and Luffy, and it's the same thing for V2 Snake Man because the characters are Luffy and Sanji. Because of that legend existing, the usefulness or the priority of Sanji and the Osoba Mask Sanji and the V2 Snake Man Luffy has dropped, but they're not bad by any means. They're still some of the best legends on the game. We've got Nami and Robin, who honestly speaking, I pulled them on their debut, guys, and I played with them like 5 times and literally never touched them again because they are such a miserable unit to play with. At least as a captain, they're not a fun captain to play with. When it comes to them being as a sub, not a bad unit at all. 2.5 times Orb boost, not bad at all. But it's not a legend you will really see yourself using a lot if you have a lot of other top tier legends. We don't really have a long Dex or Imp meta, especially for Int. The last time I have ever needed to use, for example, Blackbeard and V3 Katakuri. Blackbeard, the only time I really need to use him is for the 1 month or once a month Garp challenge, which I do once and then I'm done with. I don't touch Blackbeard again. I use him all the time in PvP though. We have V3 Katakuri, who since his release, I have never felt the need or the desire to play with at all, because he is not fun to play with in PvE. A low HP threshold legend to get your max attack boost, that's not fun at all, guys. I'm telling you right now, so tedious to team build for, not fun at all. He only boosts int units, but he's amazing in PvP. But the last time I did get to use him was very recently in Kizuna. Now, when did this Sugofest come out for JP? Like 4 months ago, right? So for 4 months, I have never needed to use his Katakuri until now on the Japan's Kizuna, where we had a side boss. So just let that sink in. There is no rush to get this category unless you care about PvP. But let's go back to part 1. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. We got Frankie, who's good in PvP, but I'm sure so many people have this legend. This guy I have so many copies of in Japan. No one wants to see him rated up anymore. We have also got Jinbei. This Jinbei doesn't want to die. He's always rated up. Brook is always rated up as well. These legends just don't disappear. And then we have V3 Ray, who I put at the end there because he's by far the least useful of the lot. He's not good in PvP. He's not useful at all in PvE. It's not like he's bad in PvE. It's just that his usefulness is so limited, because you have to have a very specific piece of content for him to really shine. Same thing with Brook. Whereas like Jinbei and also Frankie, they're just so, what's the word, underpowered or outdated compared to other legends, and they've basically been power crept. So yeah, that is part 1. 3 godlike legends, or 2 godlike legends and 1 very good legend that you can pull there. The 2 godlikes being V2 Snake Man and V3 Law, and Osoba Mask being the very good one you can pull. For global standards right now though, until Luffy Sanji, the Osoba Mask is honestly a god tier unit until that Luffy Sanji comes around. Part 2. V3 Katakuri. The one that everyone really wanted to be super good. Unfortunately, usefulness wise, very limited. Doesn't see a lot of gameplay, unfortunately, unless PvP, where he is one of the most used legends in PvP. For me on Japan, guys, I use this guy in almost every single team. He is a hard counter to Free Spirit, Powerhouse, and Cerebral units. Some really overpowered classes in there. That includes the likes of Shanks crew, includes the likes of V1 Snake Man. Not that anyone should be investing in V1 Snake Man, but Sanji Luffy is debuffed by them as well. They debuff all Psy units by level 4 defense down as well, which is absurd. He covers a whole array of units to basically counter. Very nice unit in PvP. And then we have Kaido. Now Kaido, we all know, very good in PvE. Absolute hot garbage in PvP, but he's a legend I would like in PvE, although I do feel like if I pull him, it's a kind of like cheating. So that's something, you know, I'm on the fence about. Cracker, decent in PvE, decent in PvP as well. We got V3 Aokiji, who is cool, but let's be real, when is strength, dex, strength, dex, and quick units, like the 6+ Lucy, really ever going to be meta? Well, actually, to answer that question, guys, because of the Aokiji and Akainu combination, they can be relevant on global. But because Akainu wasn't there on Japan, that V3 Aokiji was basically a dud that didn't see any gameplay. But with this new Akainu, if you do have Akainu, then this Aokiji is a massive W. If you don't have this Akainu, this Aokiji will most likely sit in your box and collect a lot of dust, unless you put him on like a Jack team, because he does have a Sailor ability that lets you do a little bit of extra damage as well. We've got Arlong crew, who I now own already on global. I also own them on JP, and I gotta be real, guys, they are okay as a sub for a lot of teams. It's a universal attack boost that they own. Their switchability is not bad at all on top of that, but we're at a point in the game where every team and every captain, like every good captain, has pretty much got a dedicated sub that already covers attack boost or boost, and in most cases color affinity as well, which is kind of the reason why this Aokiji doesn't really see that much play, is because we already have very specific units that do very specific and on top of that niche things that can defeat the latest piece of content. And a lot of the time they might be free to play units as well. So for example, you're looking for an orb booster, but on top of that orb boost you want some utility like attack down removal or bind removal, something like that. But in this instance, with the Aokiji, with even the Cracker, and also even with the Arlong crew, they just don't have that utility, right? So that's why their gameplay is kind of dipped, because the damage is not really a problem for any team now with these massive captain boosts. It's more so getting the utility onto your team. And also, we have got V2 Akainu, who doesn't really see that much gameplay anymore. He's okay on like a Douglas Bullet team, but he just doesn't really see that much gameplay anymore. We have the Zephyr, who doesn't see any at all, and neither does V1 Big Mom. These two, unfortunately, very outdated. So part 2, I would say there's 2 really good legends on there that you can pull, and one of them is only really good in this instance, V3 category, because of PvP, whereas Kaido is the one who's good for PvE. So I think for a lot of players that have been playing a long time, part 2 is probably going to actually be the worst one especially if you already have good captains, because it's not going to really enhance your gameplay at all. Unless you're someone who's missing Kaido that wants to speedrun stuff, then Kaido would be a great addition to your box. But all the other legends there, I don't really think any of them is going to enhance anybody's box in terms of gameplay, because none of these units really saw any gameplay in the past 4 months on JP. So that's a long time, guys. That's a long time to not see any gameplay. And then part 3, I already touched on all of these units. All usable units except for Shiki. V3 or V2, sorry. V2 Blackbeard, amazing in PvP. He's great for GARP challenges. And then we've got V3 Akainu, who was basically just debuted only a week ago. And he's one of the best units in PvP. He's not out on Japan, but what I can tell you for sure is, if he was out on Japan, he would be ran in so many teams because he's such a good unit. So yes, I would like to pull this. I don't want to wait for this banner, but it's also a good thing because farming story mode, guys, is going to take me a long time. I really underestimated how long it takes to farm story mode for gems. I will be doing 5 multis on part 1, I think, and 5 multis on part 3 as well. So hopefully I can pull that Akainu. That would be amazing. Douglas Bullet, still very good captain on JP. You see him used basically all the time for everything. Not that he's the best option, but for people who don't have the best option, he's like, you know, second, third, fourth, or fifth best option to use. Because of that rainbow damage, it's not really ever going to be outdated until 4.75 times attack is outdated. Jack, super useful. I really wish I had him. I hope I can pull him. So fingers crossed I get Jack so I can use my EXP islands. And then we have got the Kuzan, who's not bad in PvP as well. And on top of that, he does still see some play on some side teams, still see some play on like Carrot teams as well whenever Carrot comes back. Because, you know, Carrot is suddenly becomes like relevant for like 1 month and then becomes relevant again for like a quiet period of 2 months and then suddenly super relevant again. Normally in the instance of returning content. So for example, World Clash, when World Clash came back, bang, she was super relevant again. The Raid Crocodile, which is coming to Global, she's really good for that one as well. So yeah, she always will have some sort of relevancy because her kit is super good. And Kuzan is actually a good sub for that Carrot. But enough about Carrot and Kuzan. We have Tesoro. Tesoro, if you don't have any big chain lockers like Shanks Crew and V2 Big Mom, is a great Kizuna chain locker as well. But on top of that, he's amazing in PvP. Outside of that, he doesn't really see much gameplay. But PvP-wise, really good. One of the most popular units to run because he's a cooldown reducer. I always get cool time and charge time mixed up. So cooldown reducer. V2 Big Mom, terrible in PvP. You should not be running her at all. But she's also a good Kizuna chain locker. But that's pretty much all she's used for nowadays. She's also very good on a Blackbeard team though, which is pretty nice. But ironically, does not work at all on a V3 Katakuri team. Because for her chain lock, you need to be above 50% HP. Whereas for Katakuri's max attack boost of 5 times attack, you need to be under 50% HP. So they don't work well together. You hate to see it. It is what it is. Shiki, Omega Low, trash. And then we have part 4, which is for the Shanks crew. From what I've heard, there's no super type unit here, but Shanks crew, best legend in the game, better than V2 Snake. Oh, well, maybe better isn't the right word, but they're on like the same level. When V2 Snake Man comes out, I would say they're probably on the same level, and then Shanks crew will start creeping up further ahead again. But Shanks crew, definitely first place or joint first place with the V2 Snake Man. Very good legend. There's not much else to say there. Amazing in PvP. One of the best units in PvP. One of the best units in PV. And because of that, on Japan, still one of the best overall legends alongside Sanji and Luffy. We've got Mihawk and Perona, who are very good for endgame pieces of content like GARP challenges. But outside of that, for example, Colosseums, raids, do not really see that much gameplay. You might see them on a, very rare driven team on Japan for PvP. But outside of that, they don't see much gameplay, but they're definitely a really nice legend to have, especially for GARP challenges. And then we have V2 Shanks, whose value has actually skyrocketed in PvP on Japan with the new Halloween lore and Halloween Mihawk, who rely on, or Mihawk specifically relies on crits. And Shanks is the best int legend for crits, and he's a HP cutter as well in PvP. So he's actually really good in PvP. It's just the int unit, or the int typing, has such a stacked roster of PvP units that he doesn't make it into the Blackbeard or Katakuri team. But with the new meta that's going to happen eventually on Japan, the Halloween Mihawk meta, this Shanks crew's value through the roof. And he's also good in Kizuna as well if you're lacking teams. In fact, he's very good on a lot of different teams, because as long as you have 4 units of the same type, he will give you block or manipulation, 2.25 times attack boost, and a chain boost as well, which is still always going to be very, very, very good. We've got Deadbeard, amazing support. Outside of that, doesn't really ever see gameplay on Japan as a captain or even as a sub. Powerhouse has really fallen off. They don't really see much relevancy because it's all about super typing for the next 4 months. It's unfortunate for Deadbeard, but he's still a very, very good sub to have on your, not sub, sorry, support to have in your box. Oh, who's this? Okay, we seem to have a super type Sabo who I'm not sure is good for anything. So, I guess you could use him as a support unit for like Bello Betty or Karasu or Koala for a, you know, final stage chain boost. That's something you could use him for. If you're feeling kind of quirky, I guess you could use him for Kizuna if you don't use V2 Snake Man or Douglas Bullet or any other strength unit captain. You can maybe use him for that purpose, but I mean, are you really ever gonna get to that point you need that damage? I don't think so in Kizuna. That's like 100 levels of Kizuna. Then we have the Shirahoshi and Mancherry, who are actually really good on a Blackbeard team. The new Blackbeard, very, very useful for that. And yeah, Shirahoshi Mancherry, very good for Garp challenges. Outside of Garp challenges, cooldown's really high. No one really plays with them outside of that. They're okay in PvP as well, so not a bad unit to have. Onami, who is just, let's be real, hot garbage. You'll use her once every 6 months. She's okay in PvP, but in a normal game, literally once every 6 months. And on top of that, there's just so many other conditional boosters you can have instead. So sadly for Nami, just not that great. Then we have the V2 Sanji, who I guess is like the last desperation choice for people who don't have a good side captain. For Kizuna, you can always rely on the Sanji to at least get to like 50-60 mil damage, but outside of that, it's a bit of a yikes. So V2 Sanji and the Onami there, kind of a bust. So ultimately, I would say the Part 3 banner is definitely the best. Part 1 banner is the second best. You got 3 really good legends there at the front. And then the Part 4 Shanks Crew banner is really good. And unfortunately, V3 Katakuri, who's the best PvP unit out of all of these, is the worst banner, unfortunately. And then you can see it at rows 5 and 6. A lot of these units are not rate boosted. You do hate to see it, but it is what it is. We can't make every Sugofest overpowered, is what I'm assuming what they're thinking. But yeah, let me know what parts you are tempted to pull on, which parts you think you'll be pulling on. Again, if you have an empty box, if you are missing a lot of top tier legends, let me put it this way, guys. If you are not going for V2 Snake Man and you already have Shanks Crew, you're probably fine. You might not even need to pull on this Sugofest at all. But if you don't have V2 Snake Man, you don't have Shanks Crew, you don't have Douglas Bullet, you probably want to be pulling on Part 1. Part 1 and Part 3 are looking real tasty for the people who don't have any of those top tier captains. V3 Law you can throw in there as well if you don't have V3 Law as well. That's quite a big one to miss as well. But for the people who do have a lot of legends in their box, I think it's very important to note that if you care about PvP, PvP Whitebeard is a unit that you really want to be able to pull. PvP Whitebeard will be coming to global in like 2 or 3 months, at most 3 months. So that is something you do want to keep an eye out for. In the Yoshi era, I would speculate that maybe 3 multis or 5 multis will guarantee you the PvP Whitebeard. However, he is probably one of the most, if not the most used unit, not legend, sorry, most used unit in the top 1000 on JP. And because of that information, they are clearly aware of what is the meta on JP. That's why they had that Sugofest where even Pudding was boosted. So you had Pudding, you had the 6+ Dofi Sugofest before the Akainu one. They know what they're doing on JP in terms of the meta, like Yoshi and the gang. They know what's good. So PvP Wiping might not be guaranteed, so keep that in mind. Kizuna Limited Rare Recruit Alvida. That Sugofest that came out on Japan, oh my god, that was so good for pulling limited rare recruits. Kizuna Limited Rare Recruit Alvida is an amazing unit as well. Limited Rare Recruit Lucy was super rate boosted on that one as well. So that's another thing to keep your eye out for. Of course, if you like to grind treasure map mode, you want to save gems for those Sugofest as well. And then on top of that, if you save on this banner, guys, and you don't pull on this banner, immediately after this, there's Basil Hawkins, which is a dud. and Legend Supertype Kid. Now, that Legend Supertype Kid is going to be useful for like 1 month, and he's going to be like the best legend to have for that 1 month where everything's like quick content. And then after that, I believe it's Sugar and Smoker, of which neither of them you really need to own. If you have like Shanks Crew, if you have like Sovereign Mask, you have V2 Snake Man, they can basically deal with everything, or you can even leech off a Sugar Friend Captain or a Shanks Friend Captain, or even Luffy Lore is relevant in that instance. As long as you have any good quick captain there, even Carrot works as well. It's not going to be too difficult that month specifically. But then after that is the V3 Boa batch. Now, this legend, in my opinion, is not rated highly enough in the community. Such a dirty legend in terms of power, in terms of usefulness. Really, really good. And for that month specifically, or rather 1.5 months after V3 Boa comes back, not only is she super useful, her batch is also very, very useful. The Robin that comes with her, amazing. The Rebecca that comes with her is actually really useful. I used her so many times since her release. Amazing Limit Break Plus, amazing Sailor abilities, amazing special, really, really good unit. And then Violet on that batch as well is a really good unit too. But definitely I would say Rebecca turned out to be the best one, then Robin, then Violet, all top tier rare recruits. And then V3 Boa, one of the best legends in the game. Top 10 legend for me, comfortably top 10 legend for me. Very good unit. With the new Germa 66 unit that came out in Japan, she has become super viable because of that rainbow damage that the Germa 66 actually provides. So Psy units are really strong in both PvP and also PvE. But again, that V3 Boa, the entire batch is great because that month there is like a mini raid boss, there's a Colosseum for her, there's a Kizuna for her, and most importantly, there's a Blitz battle for her as well, and a treasure map mode for her where she excels in all of those. So for that 1.5 months after V3 Boa's release, she is going to be the best legend in the game to own because she's so good. Ow, I forgot as well. Psy Garp challenges. She is the best legend to run for Psy Garp challenges. You can run one specific team without changing a single unit or a single support. You run that one team, you can beat all 3 of the Garp challenges. Yeah, all 3 of the Garp challenges, Whitebeard, Sabo and Koala, and also Dofi. So that's super nice as well. So 6 things that she's super great for. So there's so much good stuff, right, coming to Global after this Supertype banner. So you may want to hold on to your gems. So keep that in mind. I personally do not recommend anybody goes for the guaranteed. Realistically speaking, I don't think any of these legends are worth 20 multis. With hindsight now, I cannot say that any of these legends were really worth 20 multis, except for maybe V2 Snake Man, because he's really good for Dofi too. That any Dex content, I will always run him. So he's the only one that I would say is potentially worth 20. And in that instance, he's only worth 20 if you don't have any other top tier captains. If you don't have Shanks Crew, you don't have Bullet, you don't have that V3 Lore, then 20 multis for that V2 Snake Man is very, very much worth it. The other one is Blackbeard. Because of how good that banner is, you're most likely going to pick something else amazing up on the way. But for me, I think that Blackbeard banner was when Shanks Crew was also rated up alongside Luffy, Zoro, and JP. So it's a bit different for me because I wanted a Shanks Crew. I didn't have them then. And then part 4... unfortunately, Shanks Crew isn't 20th multi guaranteed. It is going to be the Sabo, memes aside. So I don't recommend people pull on part 4, even though Shanks Crew is in there. A lot of those legends don't see that much use anymore. So yeah, it's a tough one, guys. It's really a tough one. My recommendation is, if you can afford to do 10 multis, do parts 1 and parts 3. If you're missing more than 3 of these legends in like the first 5 of each row. Or at least in part 3, if you're missing 5 of these legends, excluding Shiki, definitely do 5 multis on that banner. On part 1, if you're missing Osoba Mask, Law, or Luffy, then yeah, you might want to be doing 5 multis on there. But the other 2, part 2 and part 4, it's a bit of a yikes from me, guys. It's a bit of a yikes from me. And if you do save up till Luffy and Sanji, you have all of these legends to be pulling for as well. And all the units that I just mentioned as well are going to be along the way. But ultimately, guys, do what your heart tells you. Don't listen to your brain. The heart wants what the heart wants, okay, guys? Do what will make you happy in this moment in time. February is a long way away. You can easily save up to 500 plus gems by the time it comes to February, which is going to be the global anniversary. So yeah, the only advice that I would say you have to die by, ironclad rule, is if you care about PvP, you got to make sure you have at least 250 gems in 3 months' time, while also catering for any of your other needs. 250 gems minimum in at least 2 to 3 months' time for that PvP white bid if you do care about PvP. If you don't care about PvP, that doesn't matter. Then you can just go to town. Go to Narnia, enjoy yourself, have a blast. And yeah, I will be pulling on part 1. I'll be live streaming my pulls at www.twitch.tv/AsianGuyStream. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a wonderful day. And remember, for all the blessings, you gotta hashtag Dunker Yoshi with a Bellissimo, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.